Just in case you wanted to know my opinion of this movie right off the bat, this movie sucks. It's terrible, it's awful, it's one of the worst movies Netflix has ever put out on its service. Stay away, pretend it doesn't exist, move on with your life. You're better off not seeing this movie. Hey guys, what's up? Blaine back for another Netflix review, and obviously you can tell just from that intro, which is different from all my other intros that I usually do, The Misadventures of Hedi and Cokeman is a god-awful movie. I don't think I've seen a comedy movie this bad come out in recent years since the days of Miss March and Meet the Spartans and all that other stuff that came out in the mid-2000s and should have stayed back there. I'm not going to spend much more time talking about this movie than I need to, because right now the time and attention that I'm giving to this movie is way more than it deserves. From what I gathered, The Misadventures of Hedi and Cokeman is based on a miniseries also starring Hedi and Cokeman, and it's about these two drug dealers that live in Paris, and they're basically just trying to sell drugs and expand their drug empire, and that's it. I've never seen the web series or even heard about it up to this point, so I'm not sure what it's really like, but if it's anything like the movie, I'm willing to bet that it's just as bad. I really wish I could say a lot more about the plot, guys, but that's really all there is to the movie. It's just Hedi and Cokeman going around Paris and other parts of France selling their drugs. And then in between all of their ventures, there's all sorts of random stupid gags that just pop up without warning, and we're just like, what? How is this supposed to be funny? To start off with, Hedi and Cokeman are extremely unlikable as characters for the story. It literally feels like they escaped from a mental institution, snorted a ton of blow, and then decided, hey, you know what sounds like a good idea? Let's make a movie. I mean, it does make sense because one of the characters' names is literally Cokeman, and that's what he's famous for. He's famous for snorting coke and getting a bunch of random superpowers and turning into a mixed martial artist because of that. Anyway, Hedi and Cokeman are absolutely repulsive characters. All they do is just laugh and snort blow, and then they make a bunch of racist and sexist and homophobic jokes, and then they laugh on top of that like they think it's supposed to be funny. It almost feels like if they laugh hard enough on screen, then maybe, just maybe, that the audience will laugh along with them, when in reality, I was just cringing going, ugh. Come to think of it, most of the characters in general were pretty repulsive, especially Arsene, the guy who Hedi and Cokeman are working with in order to help spread their drug business throughout Paris. He's married to Hedi's sister in the movie, Zlatana, and I personally found Zlatana to be one of the few redeeming factors in this movie. Zlatana just feels like one of the few characters whose actresses/actors in the movie are self-aware of the complete nonsense that's surrounding them. And she tries her best to make her role as a gold-digging wife work in the movie. There's another woman in the movie, I think Alice was her name, and she was the only character who met up with Hedi and Cokeman and his whole crew of degenerates who actually seemed like a reasonably intelligent person. Anytime Hedi and Cokeman say something stupid in the movie, Alice always fires back and points out that what you said is stupid, and Hedi and Cokeman always fire back and say, oh no, you're stupid, and the nonsense just keeps piling and piling and piling. I mean, it's just so dumb. It almost feels like she wasn't even a character. It literally feels like they drug a woman named Alice off of the street and said, here, star in this movie, we'll pay you. And then she just took every situation that comes at her way, and she must have annoyed Hedi and Cokeman enough when they were like, okay, you know what? You're fired, get out of here. That's the impression that I get whenever I think about Alice. Pretty much all the female characters in this movie were the only sensibly written characters in the story. The rest of it is just a bunch of cheap jokes and gags. Like there's a blind guy who walks up the stairs and he has an RPG somehow. I don't know how that came to be, and I don't even know how he was able to walk up the stairs by himself lugging that damn thing up, and then he's just like, hey, are you Cokeman? Say goodbye. And it wasn't even really Cokeman. He went off to get something to eat or something like that, and then someone else was there just saying, hey, no, I'm not Cokeman, but blind guy's like, yes, you are, because I say so. Oh, this movie was so stupid. Like, there were just so many stupid lines of dialogue in this movie. Like, Cokeman at one point says something like, I'm gonna stick you in the PS4, and it's like, what are we supposed to get from that? And I almost couldn't believe it when I watched the movie. There was an actual, literal, seriously, I'm not making this up, an actual montage of comedy scenes, like a montage of Hedi and Cokeman building up their business while Push It to the Limit is playing in the background. Yes, Push It to the Limit from the 1980s. I would say that it's trying to be a parody whenever it does something like this, but then I realized I don't even know what it's trying to parody. This movie is just an excuse for the actors of Eddie and Cokeman to just act stupid in front of a camera for an hour and a half. It's just a total waste of time. There are shows like Trailer Park Boys, which are famous and well known for being raunchy and adult-oriented in their content, as well as the type of gross-out humor that they do occasionally have. The difference with that show, however, is that Trailer Park Boys is much better written by comparison. The characters in that show just feel like they have an arc from beginning to end of each season, as well as a certain plot point that starts and then it ends at a certain point as well. In Eddie and Cokeman, it's just one stupid scene after the next, and none of it has any rhyme or reason to it. Yeah, sure, there's a plot that's there, but they don't really pay enough attention to it. It's almost like the actors behind Eddie and Cokeman just didn't really care about the story. Again, it just feels like they just wanted to be silly and be paid to do it. There's nothing wrong with making a raunchy comedy, but this movie wasn't even made for teenagers. It was made for two people high off of their own egos, and probably high on drugs at the same time too. I will concede, however, that there is one funny scene in this movie. There was one scene that got a chuckle out of me when I watched it. There's a scene in the movie where Cokeman greets two people at his doorway, and he's fully dressed up in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle getup. He looks almost completely like Leonardo, and attached to his back behind him, he has a suggestive looking hilt attached to his sword. I won't say what it is because it's YouTube after all, but when I saw the scene, I was just like, okay, that was funny. And then Cokeman continues to be homophobic and calling people homos and gay and all that, and then my appreciation for that scene just went right out the window. Also, the action scene that happened at the end was kind of cool, I guess. There were lots of cool stunts thrown all over the place, and it was fun for a little while, but eventually it outstays its welcome and it joins all the other terrible scenes in this movie. Honestly, guys, I'm hard-pressed to think about anyone that would potentially enjoy watching this trash. I could not wait for this movie to end whenever it did. It long outstayed its welcome within the first 5-10 minutes of it playing. And if you enjoy rancid, raunchy, crazy movies like this, then I suppose you might get some enjoyment out of it, but otherwise, you're just better off staying away. Again, I don't know what the actual web series is like, so I can't really comment on the quality of that, but if it's anything like what I've seen in this movie, it's better off just staying away in the darkest, deepest depths of the internet. Your life is so much better off not watching this show. If you want to see a good, raunchy show that's not afraid to pull a few punches, but also has characters that you care about, watch Trailer Park Boys. That is infinitesimally better by comparison. This is without a doubt one of the worst comedy movies and movies in general that Netflix has put out in years. It's definitely going to be a contender for top 10 worst movies of the year for 2021. Bottom line, it's a terrible, horrible, no good piece of crap, and I don't like it. Anyways, guys, that's going to be my review of the Misadventures of Eddie and Cokeman. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and as always, stay tuned for the next part, where next time I review the thriller Red Dot. Bye-bye. And as always, stay tuned for the next part, where next time I review the Swedish thriller. And as always, stay tuned for the next part, where next time I review the Swedish thriller. Where next time I review the Swedish thriller. Why can I not say thriller? Where next time I watch the thriller, the Swedish thriller. And as always, stay tuned for the next part, where next time I review the Swedish thriller. Why can't I say thriller?